Hello, welcome to another day of experimenting with the Web Audio API. Today's a little bit different in that I'm actually sending data from my mobile phone, smartphone, or whatever you want to call them these days. But it does have a copy of this web page open, which is currently hosted on GitHub Pages. And I'm going to send the image. Let me reset the data there. And then I'm going to send the image through the iPhone speaker to the web page. Now, mind you, it runs a bit slower. The best I could do is 65 milliseconds per sampling period, and it has a different sample rate as well. Well, the sample rate doesn't really affect it as much when creating oscillations as it does when it receives them. But we can get into that later. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do the little experiment. So I'm just gonna, I need to get my hands set up at the right time. All right, I'm gonna cancel that. There were too many failed packets in the beginning, and I really want to see the progress bar. So let's go ahead and we're gonna try that one more time. Wow, that's the best transfer rate I've had on that so far. Only 3 packets failed. Where is the request? I want to send this packet. Okay, there we go. It's not responsive on my phone, so it's hard to navigate everything. But so we got 30, 31, and 32 that failed. So let's just request those 3 packets. And 30 should come over without a doubt. It did not. There we go. So yes, I can transfer data between devices. No internet connection required other than to first load the web page. But with web apps, you can cache that stuff locally and still use them without an internet connection. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So I was pretty certain that one packet was going to come over twice because I added this new checkbox that lets me send a first packet twice, regardless if I click the send button or if it's a failing packet that I'm requesting individually. So the phone does have limitations. The best I could do with the sampling period was 65 milliseconds. I normally work with 30 millisecond sampling periods. So my speed was pretty much cut in half, if not more. The other problem I had was the speakers. So I had to lower the amplitude threshold down to 30% in order to capture the signal. The iPhone does not have a loudspeaker like my laptop does, and I'm holding up the iPhone facing the speaker. That's why it's difficult for me to just hold the phone away from me and hope I hit the button in order to send the data. Other things. Oh, the sample rate on an iPhone is at 48,000 kilohertz, whereas the MacBook is only 44.1 kilohertz. So even though the iPhone has a larger number, it's good, but it's not so good. It just means that the frequency resolution, which is you'll see here, frequency resolution, the buckets that I work with all this padding and FSK padding is different. It gets placed into different buckets and different positions within those buckets. I create this channel tuning down on the lower right that kind of gives me a visual indication of where this blue line is within that bucket. So if I change the minimum frequency down, you can see how that changes that blue line. And when I first did this, I was trying to make sure that the blue lines fit right in the middle of those buckets. But I found out later it's actually better if they're on the edge to the right. Well, on the iPhone, you don't get a straight vertical line. You get these slanted lines if you cut it to the 44.1 kilohertz cap that I put on it. Yeah. So I'm not sure how much else to go into here. I did transfer the file. It was on another device. It got to this device. I can do the same with text. It's just not as fun. it's not as long as an image. We're talking about 19 bytes versus 487 bytes. But yeah, I think that's pretty much the end of my little experiment. It's been fun. I've learned a lot. I just don't know if I can really rely on it for what I originally had intended to use it for. I wanted to transfer assets between people for a game, and it just seems like there's too much of a problem going on there. Not only with the data integrity of the packets going back and forth, but having to hold your phones up to each really close to each other, and now with this NFC contact stuff going on to swap, contact information with each other. I don't want to risk that kicking in as well, interrupting gameplay. So I'm still debating on what aspect I could do with it. Maybe I could just have it send some simple Morse code signals with just text messages. But yeah, I don't know about file transfer. It's too problematic, and especially if you go outside, because it's not as noisy in my house as if you would be outside playing a game with people in the middle of street traffic and stuff like that, on the by the side of the sidewalk. Um, yeah, it's not looking hopeful, but it's interesting. I'll say that. Yeah, I'll just leave it off with that.